Hi, it's Marcus here from 4POS. Today we're discussing the parameters within the 4POS system and how to use them to the best abilities within your system. So what we're going to do is basically go to Store Setup and Security. Let's start with the point of sale parameters because these are all the parameters that influence and affect your point of sale transactions. That is the 4POS scanning program as well as the 4POS touch. So first of all, on the top you can see a heading line that you can typically use. That's the heading line for your receipt. In other words, there you can go and put in your address for argument's sake. You can put a second heading line in, which might be a second address line too, and a third line even. Okay, and then on the footer, you'll see I've got a bunch of characters here, 1, 2, 3, up to 9x. That is basically just to test the length of the field and make sure that that prints on the receipts. Effectively, what it boils down to is you've got 255 characters on the footer. So that implies, and that means that you can have lots and lots of writing on there. You don't need to stop when you get to the end of the little block. In other words, I can go and put in all my rules, my trading terms, what your return policy is, etc., etc. In other words, you can go and say, returns or credits will only be allowed if you're accompanied by both parents, etc., etc., and you're over the age of 80, something like that. A funny, stupid example, but yes, we have some customers that's in toy stores, for instance, and in toy stores, obviously, if the packaging is not together, they cannot offer a return because they cannot send it back to their supplier. Everybody's got trading terms and rules that relates to it. A lot of customers also might say that we do not allow any returns if after 7 days, or the fact that it's been used. Arguments like clothing, we all know that you can't return shoes that has been worn, etc., etc. All right, let's not get into more detail like that. All right, and then your VAT number. If you're registered for VAT, type in your VAT number there. That's your legal requirement that you need to produce an invoice with your VAT number on. Do not just type a number in there. Make sure that it's a legal number because your customer might use that, or most likely will use that, to claim the VAT back on his side. So if you're not VAT registered, rather leave that step open or leave the block open, and then also ensure that you've disabled or made your VAT percentage 0, which we'll discuss in a different video. Okay, but so that your legal requirements are to correct. Now, in terms of the transaction prints here, we have an option here to say, must we print a transaction? In other words, for every sale, there will be an invoice printed. Yes or no, or ask. If it says set to ask, it will prompt you on the screen every time do you want a receipt. Obviously, if you say no or ask for that matter, you can still, in the point of sale, reprint it by pressing Control P, and in the touch you can click on option menu, reprint transactions. The number of copies are to be printed on the right hand side, I think, is self-explanatory. For account payments, in other words, customers are paying you. Account sales, obviously, for you selling to a customer. A COD transactions that you do that side. Consignments for liquor stores that uses consignments, and payouts. Payouts, again, most likely want to keep one's receipt in the drawer for cash-up purposes tonight, and then another one that goes into your filing system. All right, deposits here. Deposits, again, handled in a different one, but basically the system is prompting us to say which deposit price do you want to use, group 1, group 2, or automatic. Okay, and then do not print VAT on invoice. Again, you might not be registered for VAT. Activate consolidated cash up is only for touchscreen systems. In other words, you've got multiple point of sale or touchscreen units in your restaurant. You don't want to do a cash up on each and every one of them. You want to be able to do a consolidated one. Print customer balance on the receipt. Nice little feature. It's for when you sell to accounts, that it will print on the bottom of the receipt not only the customer's details, but it will also then print and say, okay, fine, previous balance is X, today's purchase and new balance. So it's quite handy for your customer to see at all times what the balance is, his running balance with you or trading with you, in terms of invoicing, in terms of maybe you're running a pub and the customers are running tabs or accounts then for the month or the week, and they pay you. These three options at the bottom, card number, order number, and serial number, is all optional prompts that you will get in the point of sale of 4POS scan specifically, or only, shall I say. In other words, they will then pop up and say, what is the card number that was used? What is the order number? You might put in the purchase order number that you've received from your customer, or you might create your own order number and say Johnny phoned in, or the telephone number for the person that placed the order. And then serial number could be the serial number of the item, or a reference number, maybe a delivery book number. Again, these are reference numbers. It doesn't mean that you can only use it for that purpose. You can use it for any purpose. Top right hand side here, automatically build sets. This is when we do set building. In other words, we have, for argument's sake, a case of cold drinks that we've set up a set for, and we say that the set must be or can consist of a mix of cold drinks. In other words, I can have a 2-liter set. 2-liter cold drinks typically will come in a box of 6, but the customer says, I don't want 6, I want 2 Coke, 2 Fanta, and 2 Fanta grape, argument's sake. So if you set it up automatically like this, it means that in the 4POS scan, when you sell it, and it then, as soon as you press F10 for subtotal, it will then go and look and see is there a set that relates to the products that were sold, and then it will build the price accordingly. The same applies to automatically build shrinks. In other words, let's say, again, liquor stores, maybe you've got a case of, or you set up a case of beers, and you say that my price for single, 6, 12, and 24 is this amount. If you set it automatically build shrinks and your customer gives you 6 loose bottles and you scan them individually, okay? Now that applies obviously to any other product as well. It could be Spice Gold, it could be Bell's, it could be anything. You might have a little special, let's say buy 3, get 1 free kind of thing. So you've got a shrink there that says 4 items. For 4 items, you've now discounted it down to the price of 3. Okay? So if you say automatically build, as soon as you press F10 for subtotal in the 4POS scan, it will pop up and say, oh, hang on, there's a shrink for that item. I will then build it up. So if this is not turned on, it will actually charge the customer for 6 individuals. Okay? So be careful of that and make sure that you use it properly. Then to switch on suppress after cash up. This is a nice little feature for our 24-hour stores, typical convenience stores, the garages and so on. In other words, they run 24-hour shifts. They open 24 hours a day. So they run, argument's sake, 8-hour shifts, 3 8-hour or 4 6-hour shifts, whatever the case may be. But the lady that does the day ends only comes in at 9 o'clock. But the shift change happens at 6 in the morning. So when the shift changes at 6 in the morning and they do the cash up, what happens then is that automatically in the 4POS scan and 4POS touch for that matter will suppress all further transactions from being updated through the controller. So now, by the time that the lady comes in, she has all the time in the world to do her day ends. Once she's happy that the day ends are balancing and the cash balances, whatever, you would physically go to the point of sale machine, or machines for that matter, and go and do a unsuppress. In point of sale, it's Control S. On the 4POS touch, it will be option menu suppress. So again, if you see that your queues are running up on the point of sale, make sure that you haven't suppressed it, or it hasn't suppressed automatically because you've enabled this option. Blind cash up is again for all our retail stores. The purpose is so that we do not want the cashier to see what the theoretical sales figure should be. In other words, we do not want to say to the cashier, you should have 500 Rand. The system will allow them to do the cash up. Once they've done the cash up, the system will just print the shortages. So they do not know what to balance against, if it makes sense. Quick cash up, the same. The two normally go hand in hand. Quick cash up means that it does not come up with a cash declaration screen. in the point of sale, when you do a cash up, I'll prompt you and say, enter your cash amount, your card amounts, and all the rest of it. Quick cash up means no, don't ask any of that. Literally just do a cash up, finalize the sale, print your slip, and you can take the float and balance it in the office. All right. So it's a very quick changeover process from one cashier to another one. Only open till for cash transactions. This option nice because we do not want the till to open for credit cards, for instance, because every time the drawer opens, there's a security risk. People can see how much money you're carrying in the drawer and so on. Also, maybe on that point I'm jumping the gun. Right at the bottom here, we've got to remove excess cash from till. Go and put yourself a figure in there that makes sense. In other words, you say that, I do not want to risk more than 2,000 rands worth of cash or dollars or whatever the amount currency might be in my business. In other words, as soon as we've rang up sales to the value of 2,000, the system will automatically pop up something on the point of sale scan program, and it will say D required. D standing for drop. In other words, you need to take money out of the cash drawer and put it into your safe. Take it away. Typically what you will do is you'll go onto the point of sale scan program, do a payout for that, even use your payout reasons, and in your payout reasons you will have something that says drop. So now we know X amount of money has come out of the drawer during the course of the day, and that's gone to the safe. That will be handled as a payout at the end of the day, and your money will still balance properly. Okay? Alright, so let's pop back there, and then the printed dividing line. You might again want your receipt nice and tidy. You might want a dividing line between each and every item. Automatically search for stock items. This is when you say that if I scan a product and it's not on the database, it must automatically go to the search screen. Could be risky. But it's better than the cashier basically skipping that item and carrying on with the next sale. You will hear on the point of sale there's also some noises that it makes or specific sounds that it makes, and there's a specific sound for an item that has been scanned that doesn't exist on the database. We never really realized, but a lot of our customers use that quite extensively, because while they're in the business, they can hear when an item has not been scanned properly and immediately go and attend to the customer and the cashier and help them to get through the sale. Okay? Bypass security pop-ups and is an option to say that no, it mustn't ask for security options on the system. Cash out tender is the same. Print barcodes on receipts is an option in the 4-pass scan that allows you would then allow you to print your transaction number as a barcode so that you can retrieve it later on with a scanner. Okay, automatically log off cashier after every sale, typically used in hardware type of stores, maybe even bedding stores, companies that sell beds and mattresses and all sorts of bedding or equipment. They're using one till point, and there's many salespeople that use that same till point. They might want to say, after every sale, I want a new salesperson or cashier then to log in with their password so I can record sales per cashier. Quite handy if we start looking at sales reports by employee and things like that, especially for commissions and so on. All right. And then A4 invoices with exclusive total. Again, you'll know your customers. You'll know what they prefer to receive, because remember now they've got to capture those invoices on their side. The learning mode we'll handle in a different video, but that's basically to allow in the point of sale, the learning mode. Excuse me. And then also display selling price in the point of sale. If I press F1 for search, it will display the selling price. Then in 4-pass touch, cash sales have to be finalized. In other words, as soon as I do a cash sale, I cannot get out of the screen. I cannot click finish. I cannot click exit unless, it automatically will take me to the cash out screen. And then on the cash out screen, I'll be able to go and finalize the sale. Otherwise, we'll end up at the end of the day, we're having a bunch of open table or sales items, and nobody can remember what it's for and so on. Those most likely will be stock that has left the store and we're losing the money. Then, okay, we remove excess cash we've discussed, and then the send rounding. Cent rounding is, do you want to deal with the 5 cent and the 2 cents and the 1 cent pieces? So on the 4POS scan, it will round off the sale to the closest whatever unit you decide. You might say that I want to round off to 20 cents. Now again, remember this is multi-currency system, so whether you're dealing in dollars or in kwacha or in pula or whatever the case may be, that will apply to you as well, and you would just apply it to your decimal point of your whole number. Alright, so those are the point of sale parameters. Let's go through the general parameters quickly, or maybe not quickly. It's quite an extensive list, a lot of features that will work with your system and make your system perform in a different way. So let's start off at the top. So this is your business name, your address, your telephone number, fax if you still use it, your email address, and so on. Okay, your current period numbers for pastel. This is if you've got a pastel export options and so on, and you want to use the pastel export facilities. Stock tag parameters, quite important ones, how you do your stock tags. And I'm just going to read them out as we go through them. When printing a stock tag sheet, show the barcode and not the quick key. Okay. In other words, on the system, as we all know by now, I suppose, the system caters for a barcode and a quick key. So you can have the barcode of the actual product, but you might be selling that bread as just WB, white bread, okay, to make it faster, quicker. So it will then print the barcode and not the quick key, okay. When printing the stock tag sheets, show the stock value. Self-explanatory. When printing stock tag sheets, don't print zero stock. Do not print items that do not have stock on. Okay. On processing GRVs, this is the important one. On processing GRVs, update GRV cost to actual cost. So the default here, as we can see. So let's just look at it now. So the default is on processing a GRV. In other words, a GRV is a goods received voucher when I'm purchasing my stock from my supplier. Update the GRV cost. In other words, the price on the GRV, on the invoice. Update that to the list cost and calculate the weighted average to actual cost. Okay, so let's go through that slowly. So it will take the cost of, argument's sake, a Coca-Cola can. Let's say you pay R6.50 for a Coca-Cola can. Now, today, it will then take that R6.50 and put it immediately into the list cost. It will update your list cost to R6.50. Okay. Then it will calculate the weighted average. Okay. Now the weighted average is a figure that gets determined by how much stock I had. So just a quick way of explaining. Let's say I had 10 Cokes in stock at R6. In other words, my previous price was R6. The value of those 10 Cokes is R60. Now I'm buying new Cokes, as I said, R6.50 each. And let's say I'm just buying 2. Okay. So the value of those 2 that I bought now is R13. That gives me a total value of 73. I had 10 plus 2 gives me 12. So it will take the 73 divided by 12, which will give me R6.50, R6.40 something odd. Okay, you can go and calculate it on a calculator to get to the right number. But that's the calculation that will happen here. The second option is here. If I choose that option, you can see you can either choose the one or the other. You can't choose all of them. Okay. On processing the GRV, update the GRV cost. In other words, my new cost again, R6.50, to the actual cost. Alright, so in other words, it doesn't do anything with the list cost. The list cost will still stay R6. Okay. And then the last option, or the third possibility that we have, on processing GRV, do not update GRV cost to list. In other words, don't touch the list. Okay. And only calculate the weighted average to the actual cost. So it'll do that same calculation of my 60 plus my 13, 73 divided by 12 products now, and give me a price, and that will go to the actual cost. So when we look at our product performance reports and so on, and the dashboard and so on, you'll see we always show them both profits, percentages. Bearing in mind that this will determine how the cost will be calculated and updated, that will tell you whether you are on par with your margins that you expected or not. Okay. You most likely will have to replay the this part a little bit, just to make sure that you understand clearly how it is. Okay. All right. Then furthermore on that, when printing a purchase order, print a barcode and not the supplier code. All right. As you would have picked up by now, you can put in a supplier code of the product. So you might say, no, print the barcode on my order, the order that I'm now going to email to my supplier or fax or print or whatever, or give. Okay, I would want the barcode on there, not the supplier number. All right. When printing the shrinkage, toggle the negative sign. In other words, positives will become negatives and negatives will become positives. For a lot of customers, the fact that you have a negative shrinkage, in other words, it shows -5, seems difficult to understand that the stock is now increased. In other words, the shrinkage normally is just a positive number. So if I see a shrinkage of 5, it means that you've got 5 less than what you should have had. But now when you have more, in other words, you miscounted the previous week, suddenly you find that, hang on, I've got a negative shrinkage. In other words, it's grown. Nobody came and gave you stock for free, so obviously that's how it works. All right, so that's what that purpose is. On stock take additions and day end, print the slip. All right, so it will print a receipt for you when you do stock take additions so that you can actually see what you're doing. Sort stock items on order alphabetically. Now, again, when you do an order, you might enter the order in whatever sequence or whatever way that you've received your order or written it down or whatever the case may be. You might want to present it to your supplier in an alphabetical sequence. So that's what the option is about. Apply sales quantity for make finished product. This is typically for our baker customers. And funny enough, it came through from a customer in Dubai many years ago. This customer starts off baking at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. So by the time that the ladies have time in the system to go and say, I'm now making a finished product, in other words, I've baked 400 loaves or 300 loaves, he's already sold, or the business already sold 10 or 20 or 100 loaves of bread. So the system will then, this option will then say, you must apply the sales quantity or use the sales quantity. So the sales quantity would have gone most likely into negative before, and because it's gone into negative, the bill of material has already been updated, so the system must take that into consideration and mustn't now, when you say make finished product, go and take the ingredients for the 400 loaves and the 100 loaves that were sold has already been taken off. So think about it nicely. Makes quite a lot of sense. Very clever business owner. Last one there on that little block, when printing the GRV, print barcode with a description. Again, self-explanatory, is something that you can go and say, well, this barcode must go to my shelf, I must go and check the pricing and so on. Alright, so then the default language is English, and again you can go and select as many languages. You can see we also cater for right to left, again for Dubai, for our friends in Dubai and other Arabic countries, or people that speak Arabic, that they can actually put the words in, and the system will then show it from right to left and not left to right. Okay. Alright, so let's move on. Option 5. What do you want to see on your day-end reports? Sales, channel activity, stock movements, print shrinkage. Again, you might want to start with everything. Okay, put everything on. And then decide, okay, no, this doesn't make sense. I don't need that part. It's just wasting paper. Quotes, I never do quotes, so I don't want to see that. But sales channels, definitely worth your while to see what to, where's your sales going to, which type of channel is moving to, and so on. Movement summary, the same. The stock values at cost, obviously, the shrinkages, customer movements. My business, definitely very important. Want to see what invoices have gone through, etc., etc. And then the use that offers link options here. This is for 4PAS Enterprise. The customers that use that will obviously get into more detail there. Then 4PAS interface handling. 4PAS over the years have developed lots of interfaces to other systems, SAP, ACPAC, all sorts of things out there. People that will use 4PAS as the point of sale and then grab that transactions to update into whatever other systems out there. Alright, it's not a live system. It will be something that your programmers or consultants will set up specifically for you, and they will write a little interface that will grab the 4POS transaction, translate it into whatever they can understand, and update the systems accordingly. Okay. Do not view update warning. This is when your pricing is maybe not set up for all your sales channels and stuff, and you do not want to see that warning that says, you've got so many products higher than or lower than, so on, and that's what it's about. Automatically zero stock a day in. Careful. It will zeroize the stock, and obviously that means that you will start every day with zero stock. Not a good idea, but yes, some customers asked about it. Dry cleaning customers, we do help a couple of customers in their dry cleaning businesses, and they've got specific requirements. In other words, there's some transactions that's still open at the end of the day for people to only collect clothing and whatever else the next day. Fruit and veg production, a little bit of a disaster, the development that we did years ago, big plans for it, and then unfortunately it wasn't practical, and the development just went on and on, so we had to stop that. So if they are a requirement for customers that does fruit and veg production, it was quite clever the way the fruit and veg businesses works, and we try to accommodate as much as possible, and might be worth our while to develop some more details into that in future. Cashless system means that we do not handle cash. All transactions in the point of sale will, or specifically touch, because that's what it was developed for. Typical canteen type of businesses, which means that the person, the buyer, in fact, will be able to ring up his own sale. He will go to the system, he will log in with his fingerprint or his card, ring up his own sale, and finalize it to his account. So that's what the cashless system is about. We've even had developed a ATM type of device attached to the whole 4POS system, meaning that we could receive money in notes into a ATM-like device, very expensive device, that will take your 100 Rand, 200 Rand, $200 notes and record it automatically as part of, or as being an update to your balance. Again, some clever development that we did. Unfortunately, nobody using it currently. The canteen systems, or the canteens that we developed for, decided to privatize the whole part of the business. Alright, and then load today's report data when application starts. Every time the point of sale opens up, it will then load the data for today, so you can get to reporting quite quickly. Then, okay, banking details, self-explanatory. This is your banking details that you want to print at the bottom of your invoices, on the A4 invoice specifically. Interest percentage, what are you going to be charging interest to your customers? Again, make sure that you do not get into trouble because you're charging 26% per day or per month instead of per year. Again, check your legal requirements. Make sure that you do not go and charge a percentage that's not lawful. And then from when must it calculate it automatically? So when you do your month end, it will automatically go and do the interest calculation, put a journal through for that interest amount, and charge it accordingly. Alright. Open item debtors, something we'll discuss in another video altogether. And do not print balance due now. Again, on the debtors video, I've explained that. And then custom history, print invoice in new format. New format is just a different format. It's nothing special about it other than we specifically needed it for one of our customers. They insisted on having an invoice in their format, so we did a fix or a change for that, and we can now offer that. You might be something that you want to go and print it, just see whether you're more comfortable with that layout or with the standard layout. Then security permissions at the top. You've got your do not allow security permissions higher than the person logged in. Quite important. In other words, the person that excuse me, the person that logs in or is logged into the back office cannot create a password or passwords higher than themselves. In other words, let's again look at this unfortunate crooked manager. The crooked manager will go into the system and go and create another password for himself, most likely, that's got access to just about everything. So this allows or ensures that this cannot be done. That the person cannot do that. Now, again, in terms of the parameters and the point of sale permissions, you'll make sure that that is all nice and tight, that they can't abuse the system. The backup paths, we've done quite a lot of work on the backups with the way that 4PAS does backups these days. We're not only backing up the pricing and the Waitron file, which is your two main files in 4PAS, but also all the month files, and we're backing it up with a timestamp now in a RAR format. This is version 17.9 that we're currently using. So from 17.9 onwards will be in RAR format. It does also imply that you need to go and do some maintenance from time to time and go delete some old backups. For me personally, after 30 days I don't need those backups anymore. Okay, make sure that the backups in that 30-day period is good enough, and then carry on. Otherwise you might land up in a situation where your hard drive gets full and all you've got is you've got thousands of backup files there in the system. But do not stop doing backups. You might even decide to change the path there to an external drive. Again, bear in mind that if I do put it on an external drive, this backup option will only work in my office because the external drive is connected to this physical machine, not the point of sale machine in front. And you most likely will get an error there saying that that drive doesn't exist, drive F or G or H or whatever the number might be. Fingerprint readers and stuff. Over the years, the iDiversal fingerprint reader that we use have changed the SDKs, the way that we talk to the fingerprint reader, and we basically select it or have the option for you to select either or. All right. Those are the parameters. Email, synchronized data, and stuff like that is at the top. Synchronizing parameters, all to do with 4PAS Enterprise, which we'll handle in a different one. I think that will give you a better understanding of what the parameters is, and see how it will possibly, by changing some of them, might make your system appear better and work better for you in the business. Enjoy.